Well, we have a few name tags left unclaimed, so we'll just kind of allow them to walk in quietly after we get started. For those of you who don't know, my name is Dave Vidito. I'm the Executive Director of Alumni Relations here at John Carroll. I'm also a member of the class of 2000. How many of you, this is your first session of the 3? Okay. Thanks for coming. Great. Yeah, thanks for coming. It's been a great series so far. We've had 3 different events. This is the 3rd and final of the ACES series for 2015. All been a little bit different. And as I've said the last 2 weeks to our alumni, you probably know or have heard of Frank Navratil, or you know Andy Welke or Roy Brooks. You maybe had them in class. You probably don't know Mike Richwalsky. That's probably a foreign name to you at this point. But I've said all along, this is probably going to be the most interesting and engaging session of the 3. So I've been really excited for this. No pressure, Mike. But I think this is going to be great because it's such a great topic that really touches so many different parts of our society and personally as well. So we hope you enjoy it. A little bit about our faculty member tonight. Mike is the Executive Director of Marketing and Creative Services at John Carroll. He works in our division on the 3rd floor of this building, the University Advancement Division. So we work very closely with Mike, as does the enrollment team. An accomplished speaker, he focuses on the technical side of web development and higher education with a focus on the cloud, web applications, and more, with a little bit of Facebook and Twitter thrown in, which I'm sure we'll hear about tonight. Are you going to explain the cloud? Is that because nobody understands the cloud? Okay.
Just stay away from that.
Okay. Well, with that, I give you Mike Richwalsky.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dave, for inviting me to speak tonight. It's been fun to put this together and really kind of think about all the different parts that go into a personal brand. Before we dig into that, let me tell you a little bit about me. Hi, I'm Mike. As Dave said, I'm the Executive Director of Marketing here. I've been at Carroll since 2010, so just over 5 years, which has gone by super fast. And as Dave said, again, we work really closely with offices all over campus. So admissions, alumni, fundraising, student affairs, res life, academic departments, graduate, undergraduate. We really work with everyone on campus. And those are my 2 boys, classes of 24 and 29. They got a ways to go. But scary, we took that picture at last year's class of 2018 celebration. And this Saturday is the 2019 celebration. It takes a little bit closer every year than them getting ready. My oldest held a sign last year that said, "Watch out, I'm coming in 6 years." Which is really, really scary. So I do everything that touches the print, the web, social media, video, anything really that comes out of John Carroll comes through our group on the 3rd floor of Rodman. The students here think I'm cool because we do maintain the Carroll Twitter account. They love when we have fun, especially when there's closings. They love us a lot because we tell them campus is closed. There's been a couple times this spring we've had to do that. But we hold students accountable. If they tell us, if classes are canceled, I promise to do my chemistry homework. Now, we did end up canceling classes. So later that day, I did ask Jane, are you doing your chem paper? Because I promised. I want to hold students accountable that we were able to cancel classes. So that was fun. And she did do her paper. I think there was 2 days in a row we canceled this spring, which was kind of crazy, but students like me. I'm going to repeat this at the end, but in the spirit of today, and personal branding, and connecting and networking, you can connect with me. Hooray. Twitter account, on the web, I have a blog we'll talk about, Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm in all the places. And we're going through how long I've been in some of these venues. It's a little scary, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. What are we going to talk about today? I think we're going to start with a really base level definition of what's a brand. And you hear that a lot. We're developing a new brand, or relaunching our brand. What does that mean? What is that? What tools are out there for you to take advantage of? Some easy, some a little bit harder, to put yourself out there, like a company. And then how do we combine all those things into one? Why is this important? Why is it important to think about your brand and who you are? It's, in today's world, you have to work hard to get your name out there. Nobody's going to do that for you. And now we have the tools. We talk about blogs, we talk about Twitter, we talk about podcasts, we talk about all of these tools. You now have the tools that we didn't have 10, 15, 20 years ago to put yourself out there worldwide for free and connect with people. We didn't have that. And I think this kind of branding and networking is important because the days of having one job for your whole life, those are over. I'm on my 5th or 6th job since I graduated college. It changes very, very fast. My father-in-law worked in the same machine shop for 45 years before he retired. And that just doesn't happen now. We move so much faster and so much differently than we did all those times ago. This is a quote from Tom Peters, an article that he did in Fast Company magazine. And it's pretty interesting, saying that we're really the CEOs of our own company. We are in charge of it, and the brand is us. And very relevant today, but the story was published in 1997. So a lot of those key things continue to be relevant even today. So, what's a brand? Any ideas? Thoughts?
Logo.
Dave's not going to make the next
Who you
slide.
are to the public, what you represent.
Yeah.
It's an image.
It's a lot of things.
I think it's the one thing that people think about when they think of you.
We use the word, I'll show you in a second, but to answer Dave's question, the logo is not a brand, sorry. No, it's not just that. It's not the Nike swoosh or whatever. It's everything that goes with it. So there are the tangible things, and we mentioned a couple of them. There's the marketing that you do, the outreach. If you're a brand like Comcast, it's customer service and how bad a job you do or how good a job you do, because people now share all that. It's the people that work for you, your ambassadors, the people who are putting yourself out there. Part of it is your logo. It's your website, it's your social media, it's your store, it's all of those tangible kind of physical things. But it's also the intangible things. We use the word a lot upstairs. The brand is your promise. Is what are you going to deliver? When we think about John Carroll, we are Jesuit Catholic University, liberal arts tradition, 128, 29 years of academic excellence here. So those are our promises. Promises, world-class liberal arts education when you come here. And there are the things like reputation. What do people think about you? What are the core beliefs and mission of your organization? All of that factors into your personal brand, or your company brand. I'll talk about personal in a second. So I have a couple of slides here as an experiment, and we'll talk for each one a little bit about what these kind of really most popular and famous brands. So we have that one, right? Easy. But what is that other than, tablets and phones and computers? Or when you see that symbol, what do you think of that brand?
Brand is innovative because it went through a different computer system.
Yeah.
And a totally different computer system.
I think, because I use them every day in my team, that I think creativity, and giving me the tools to allow to create interesting and creative things.
So do you consider that a logo, or do you consider that a brand in business acumen?
It's a brand. I think that's a part of it, but it's no different than, when I see this, or when I see somebody with a phone, what does that mean to me, and what do I take out of that? So I think.
So the people at Apple, they consider that a corporate logo, or what do you think they consider?
It's certainly a simple logo.
Okay.
But it's certainly iconic. It's on the back. I mean, they put it on the back of all the computers
Right.
and the phones and whatever. But it's part of their overall, feeling and what you take away when you look at that and you think Apple. What are those brand things that And they've worked very hard, and all these companies I'll show you have worked very hard to control that. What you think about them? Yeah.
What is the reason for the fact that it's not a complete apple, whole apple that would bite out of it? Can you share any insight on that? Is there any insight?
I know that it's changed a lot, and when it started originally, it was the Apple Computer Company, and it was a tree logo with the ribbon around it with the apple kind of coming down it from a kind of a Newtonian background. And they've gone in the last couple of years to a much simpler color palette. The color used to be the apple used to be very rainbow colored. You know, and you see your Apple IIe that we had at home was a much different one. So they've certainly refined it and simplified it over time, which is could probably do 2 hours on logo changes and brand identity changes, and people that do it right and people that do it badly. There are cases for both sides. So that's one brand. So when you think Coca-Cola, again, huge, globally recognized brand, soft drinks. You know, you think Christmas, Santa Claus, things at Christmas, anything else with Coke you can think of?
Red.
Yeah.
Pepsi.
All right, how about this one? Other than beer, what do you think about, what is that, ideas and things does that sell to you?
Cheap.
I think about their recent kind of ad campaigns, whether it's Super Bowls or whatever. I think they're doing that. I'm down for whatever, I'm up for whatever thing right now. So that's been a core thing that they have paid millions of dollars to get you to think about. When you see that and think about that, oh, I want a fun time with my friends, and I want to, you know, anyway. Okay. It's an interesting one. This is Xiaomi. This is a Chinese cell phone manufacturer. It's currently the third selling brand of phones in the world. Will probably be number 2. I would give them 2 more years probably. I mean, they've grown so fast and so quickly. But you know, it will not be long before you start to see them here. Samsung is a Korean company. LG is a Korean company. You know, you see a lot more of these kind of brands start to be here. And this is one that is certainly growing. They offer a lot of household products, from TVs to phones is their big one right now, but they're coming. And you know, it just goes to show you that, you know, you can be a global brand like Apple. You could be a you know, geographical brand like Xiaomi, or a very regional thing like Carroll. We're trying to grow that, but I figured nobody was going to get that one. It's just a test. So when we talk about your corporate image and the personal one, what's the big difference? The difference is now you're the product. You are the thing that's now being out there, and you're responsible for the questions like, what is your promise? Now you're the logo. You're the mission, you're the quality and the reputation and the outreach that all, you know, when you think about what John Carroll does, what Apple does. When we talk about you, all these things apply to you. Except, you know, it can be hard sometimes to talk about yourself and put yourself out there. So I struggled with coming up with a kind of definition. If I had to write the textbook, the Webster's definition of this stuff, what would I think that'd be? I think it's about creating and sharing and growing a positive image and reputation about yourself. That can be hard and can be sometimes out of your control if other people are talking about you, but one of the benefits of this is putting yourself out there, kind of cuts right to the source. And in the end, you know, I see a lot of this about being about the ROI. And what is the return? The investment that you put into this and the energy in it, what do you get back? You get a lot of things back. You can get a job back. You can get speaking opportunities. These are all things that we're talking about. Friendships, collaborators. Some things you can measure, some things you can't measure. But it's about the work that you put into it is worth what you get out of it. So my brand journey, talking about ROI, brought me here. So I've worked in higher ed for 15 years, have done a ton of conference presentations, interviews with exciting publications like University Business Magazine. I'm sure you all read that every month. It's very exciting. And Tech Magazine, the real hard hitters in higher ed business. But in doing that, for a couple of years, in 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, I built up a pretty good reputation in higher ed, being someone that knew what they were talking about when it came to the web, and sharing, and being on Twitter, and writing a blog, and doing these conference things. So when I saw a job open up here at Carroll, getting closer to my parents in Elyria, we were in Western PA, it was kind of a no-brainer. Oh yeah, I'm gonna apply that. This sounds good. But the person that was the hiring manager, who was my boss for a couple years until he just left, recognized the name and saw, oh, like, whoa, I know, I've heard of this guy, I've read his stuff, I know him. So that was a huge benefit for me, you know, staying within my kind of core competencies of higher ed. That all the work and put into it, and the interviews and the blogging and all that stuff, you know, led me to here. And when I got here, you know, before I got here, John Carpenter, who's no longer here, but now at the University of Virginia, said, oh, you know, totally, like, we need to get that guy here, he knows what he's talking about. So I'm kind of living proof that this is worth it. And the ROI for me was coming to Cleveland, moving here, being close to my parents, getting great schools for my kids, great opportunities here, and you know, it's just been great, my time here at Carroll. So where do you start with all this as you think about, okay, I'm ready to talk a little bit about myself and build this brand and this reputation. Where do we even start? It's a great slide from South Park from years ago. And there were these things, has anyone seen the underpants gnomes? Okay, a lot of blank faces. This is really weird. Okay. So these are gnomes that would appear in Eric Cartman's bedroom. They would steal his underpants at night. And when confronted, this was their business plan and their plan for everything. So step one, we're going to steal the underpants. Step three, profit. Don't know what to do in the middle. That's what we're talking about today, the middle stuff. Before you get started on this journey, you've got to do some kind of initial measurements and set a baseline. So it's scary, but you're going to have to Google yourself. I don't know if you do that often. It's a little weird. But see what is out there about you already. Luckily, my blog comes up first and my Twitter account, then a couple of, a Case 5 news story about me, some SlideShare, Educause. So luckily for me, most of it's positive, which is great. But that's kind of step one, is getting that baseline of, okay, what's out there? Because we're gonna, at the end, we're going to compare against that and measure against it and see if we've seen improvement in it. So step one, Google yourself. It's a little weird, but do it. Step two. So how many people are on LinkedIn? Good, super. One of the things, and you know, again, we could debate the pros and cons of it, but is this, you know, endorsing people for their expertise, right? It pops up sometimes. Do these people know the following things? If I see one more that says, does this person know social media? Sure, everybody does at this point. But this is kind of a good, again, another one of those baseline things to see what people are saying about you. What do they think, and what is the perception and the, you know, view out there of you and your skill sets, and where do you excel? So for me, a lot of WordPress, a lot of higher ed, social media, marketing, communications, web design, Facebook, analytics, super, all things that I do. And kind of, it's nice for people to recognize that and what they think my skill sets and talents are.
I find it funny though when I go to mine. I mean, I think people click on stuff. Just click on it. I mean, I get recommended for stuff that I've never done. I mean, it's
funny story. In our integrated marketing communications department, Meredith Tam, who can't be here today, she's kind of my right-hand woman. She's awesome. But we have fun with her LinkedIn profile once in a while. And so she's awesome. So in the top section, it's here's everything you're good at, and the top things. And then there's a little button in your LinkedIn profile that says see additional things. So we put additional funny things in her LinkedIn profile. And I'm just going to say I'm not the only one in this room that has done this for Meredith. I haven't had this in the middle with the camera. So yeah, Meredith is good at journalism. She's great at marketing. She's great at photography. She knows AP style. That's awesome. And then you get down, and you can see that she's good at fluid mechanics, chakra balancing, crop insurance, and archery. So you can have some fun. You'd be shocked at what's in there. And so she could take that up, but we thought it was too funny to say she's good at that. So use some of those with a grain of salt when you're thinking about, what's my passion. And if your passion is crop insurance and or chakra balancing, that's awesome. Go with that. But if it's just having some fun, be good. So are you passionate about? And this is kind of early step one, is thinking about, is finding that true thing that really gets you going. So I made a quick mind map of badly photoshopped images, if you will, of what am I passionate about? The web. I like playing video games with my kids. My kids are my passion. I like movies, like TV shows, like traveling. Done a fair amount of that. So those are kind of my passions. And I was going through, a couple of years ago when I started this process, the one that really jumped out at me is kind of the thing I'm most passionate about and the best at, I feel, is kind of web stuff and higher ed and marketing. So that was what I went with. Is once I found that made me be able to set down the path of, some of these other steps. And so once I determined that, it got me thinking, okay, well, what's your elevator speech then? Everybody know what that is? Mm-hmm. Ready? Okay. So, what's mine? 50 seconds. I've worked in higher ed for 15 years, love the creative side, love to use technology to find interesting solutions to the challenges in higher ed, and at the same time create a good environment for students to come into our office and work with us, get good real-world experience like I did when I was a student, and get a great opportunity for them. So that's my 15-second thing. And what I try to develop in that was hit those key things of my passions: technology, marketing, higher ed, and hit those. So that's, as you think about that and you try to encapsulate what are you about in 15 seconds, it's never going to capture everything about you, but when you think about the external image of what people think about you, of what the image is that you want to put out there, that's where this comes into play. What is the story that you want to tell? From a personal, a professional aspect, what do you want to put out there? I try to make sure that I'm being authentic, especially in my professional world where we're talking to incoming students and their parents who are 17, 18, 19 years old. They see through stuff really fast. And if you're they'll see through it as I'm being marketed to, I'm out. And so we've been forced in that world to be much more authentic with our storytelling and what we're doing. We can't fake it. They see through it now. And the same thing, comes into play when you're talking about yourself and your own brand. As you're marketing yourself, be it on Twitter and Facebook that we'll talk about, or your website or whatever, you gotta be authentic. It's also a chance for you to position yourselves as being an expert in this particular field, and be recognized as an expert, and people kind of come to me and with those questions. And I can also use that kind of political capital I gain from being good resources. When I get stuck with a question, I can use that network that I've built to help me out with a question. And this happens all the time. Even last week I got stuck with a web thing on one of our web pages, put out there on Twitter, and I had a guy I've never met, who I've only known from Twitter, giving me advice. A person I have met but lives in the UK. I met at a conference once. Steve Bonian, he's a cool guy, giving me advice, and a person in Montreal, Canada, giving me advice. Oh, have you tried this with your server? Okay, cool. That's cool, and that's just because we've built up those relationships, and I think I've given, a lot of help, feedback, ideas, and that I was able to pull that out, which was pretty cool. For me, this started with a personal website. Okay? Not a Facebook page, not a MySpace page, or any of the things. Your own thing that you can control. It doesn't have to be terribly fancy. The faster the better, the easier it is to use, the better. But this website, when you start, is a place for you to start to share that expertise that you've gained, either a short amount in your career, in your life, or a long amount. And you pick kind of your niche and your passion. So for me, I started a blog about marketing in higher ed. It's not setting the world on fire with traffic and millions of visitors. That's okay. It's for the people that it's relevant to. It's a great tool, and I hope they use it. So once you find that, you just write about it. This is my very exciting blog with topics such as, the Department of Ed's new rankings. Again, very limited stuff. 5 reasons user experience, content, and search engine optimization is more important than ever. So those kind of topics that are relevant to my audience fit in with my passion, and I have some expertise in. So don't get into movie reviews. Love to. Talk about the new albums that are coming out that I'm excited about. Underground UK dubstep. Like, I'm cool with that, but I don't think my readers are going to be super into that. So start with that website. It's super easy to set up. I'll give you a couple of links in a second where you can do that even for free to do that. As you're going about this, also think about your mobile visitors. So much now of this network, when we talk about social media, we're talking about connecting, it all happens mobily. You have Twitter on your phone, you have Facebook with your phone is always with you. You always have access to it. So making sure that easily, you can do this pretty easily where your site is also good on phones and mobile, makes everybody happy. I try and write as much as I can. There are stretches where we get busy in the office and I don't do it as often as I would like to. But Google is your friend. Google is going to help spread the word about you to the world. Google loves sites that update all the time because it goes higher in the results. Your keyword rankings get more traffic. At the same time, they also love the long tail. Everybody know what that is? Okay. Think about a curve of, you have your very popular artists, okay? Katy Perry is going to sell 15 million records and singles and streams on Spotify. The bands I like tend to have not so much. There's a very active audience, and when you dig down deep, you're going to find these kind of artists. I don't know if I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but they love that big archive of content that maybe it's not the most up to date, but it's a chance for you to still be relevant for smaller topics. I'm explaining this badly. Let me show you. This is a couple of keywords over the last 3 years that people have used to find my website. CAPTCHAs. I write about those sometimes. Those are little annoying squiggly words you have to write in when you're signing up for a form. Google Analytics, Trajan Pro font, WordPress analytics, a lot of analytics, a lot of CAPTCHAs. I wrote about CAPTCHAs a couple of years ago. And Google loves that big pile of content. They love fresh, but they also love that real deep down stuff. I'm explaining this terribly, I apologize. I'll come back at the end and give you a better definition. So Google loves sites that update often, but they also love that really long base of content that they can dig into and find the results. Google's now giving extra points to sites that are mobilely friendly. That's new within the last couple of months. Google also awards sites that are super fast. So we've worked hard at Carroll to improve our sites. There are studies that they do that says even a half a second reduction in Amazon increases sales by a certain percentage. They track all that. So they work really hard to optimize their sites and everything. So it's super easy. If you're not a super nerd like me, that's okay. You can go to WordPress.com. You can get a free blog. You can even bring your own domain name. Super easy. Start blogging and putting your information and thoughts about your topics out there. Another one that's kind of coming up is Medium.com, if you've ever seen that. That was created by the same people that created Twitter. And that tends to be for a bit more kind of long form pieces and really getting into depth on a particular topic. A lot of great content there just to browse around in, but also super easy to create content there. It's really built to write in and create. So those are two sites really quickly that you can use. My second tool in my arsenal that I use is, as I mentioned, I go and I speak all over the world about web and higher ed and marketing. And because I've worked on building up myself as an expert in this medium and being out there as a resource and sharing on the website, is I get invitations to come to these conferences and say, hey, come talk at our thing. If you've never done it, it's nerve-wracking, but also exciting and fun to share ideas with you like I'm doing now. But it also helps introduce you to more and more people, more and more kind of potential audience for yourselves. And that doesn't have to be, I'm just looking for a job or I'm looking for a customer or a client. It's really just meeting interesting people, getting to do and see interesting things. And I've done, counting tonight, 36 things in the last 6 years of traveling and getting to do that. And that's been so much fun to go around. It's also given me the opportunity to see Prince Charles, which is pretty cool. I just happened by accident. I was giving a talk in the UK. I gave a talk in London and one in Cardiff, Wales, and just happened to, by accident, stumble onto a parade. This is in 2009 of a Welsh battalion that was just returning from Afghanistan. So they had all of their tanks and things walking up the high street in Cardiff. It was really amazing. And at the end of the thing, in the big castle, out comes Prince Charles, who, so I saw probably from where I am to where Dave is sitting, was the distance away from him. It's pretty cool. So I captured on video, and the address is there, and I'll share these slides at the end, and Dave will send them around. But you can go watch my video of Prince Charles. So that was a totally, random fun experience of just stumbling in the middle of this parade in the middle of the day on a Thursday in Wales, which was pretty cool. The other story is my friend Adam here. One of the conferences that I was lucky enough to get invited to is called the Institutional Web Management Workshop. It's a mouthful, but it's for institutions of higher education and sixth form colleges all over the UK. And run by their centralized, we have a group in the United States called EDUCAUSE. This company group is called JISC. It's the UK version of that. And got invited to come out in 2009, gave a talk. Adam was in my session, hit it off with them, stayed in touch with them. When I moved to Carroll from my last institution, he started freelance working for us, which is pretty cool. And that grew into a kind of a web consultancy that a few of us started. So we got to do more work together and create. He came here to have Thanksgiving with us. I thought, let's have the most American holiday we can and invite him out. So he came out. He lives in Manchester, England. He doesn't really like soccer. I said, Adam, you have two of the best soccer teams in the world in your city. He's like, yeah. So can't do everything for him. And then he got married last year, and I went to his wedding, and it was awesome. Their weddings are forever. It started at noon, and I left about 2:30 in the morning, so it was very fun if you ever get to go to English football. But that was all because, again, I met him because I shared ideas, was active on Twitter, the website, got invited to this thing, met him. Great friend now, comes to visit me, go to see him. It's just grown into this great friendship and collaboration, oceans apart, but all of that is because, of a blog and a website. And, talking to University Business Magazine. So that's my friend Adam. He was surprised when I told him today that he was at my talk. So if he asks, I said only good things. So all of these things, and the blogs especially, are the foundation. This is kind of the thing that we're going to build the rest of the stuff on. Because you need that guts and the stuff that we're going to go off, because I don't think you can just use Twitter alone to tell the world about who you are. It's not built for that. It's built for really short 140 character bursts. And there's no limit on a blog or a web page about what you want to talk about. So we're going to use the blogging as really that foundation core, because I'm going to write a story or a new post on my website about recently Google stopped thinking I was in Cleveland and started thinking I was in Hong Kong. So when I would be in my browser on this laptop, I would search for something and it would return results in Chinese. No clue why or how it did that. For people, so if somebody else in the future searches for Google thinks I'm in Hong Kong, my website and my experience I can now share with them. That happened to me. Here's what I did. Here's some ideas. Here's how to get out of that and request Google put you back in the right country. So I wrote that blog post and then used all of the other kind of parts of the house to build off that foundation. So I shared it on Twitter. New post, help, Google thinks I'm in Hong Kong. And thanks to all these tools now that are interconnected, there's no additional work for me to do that. WordPress automatically posts that for me. I don't have to do that, which is great. And then I automatically can get posted on my LinkedIn page. Okay, that's cool. But now I ask other people to help me do it, to do the heavy lifting for me. Again, probably on a Twitter account you follow, Blog High Ed, which is all bloggers in marketing and web and higher ed. Again, really niche-y, but they picked up the post and talked about it. And so that it's just getting amplified, and I'm getting put out there more and more by these people. I did the original nugget and the idea, and now it's getting amplified for me, which is great. This is Callie Morrison. I have no idea who she is. I've never met her in my life. I've never heard of her. But now she's helping spread that message. She thought it was interesting, probably read it on somebody, somebody's page who shared it or found it interesting. And so this is another person I have no idea who she is, amplifying me to her audience of people. I'm sure she's a perfectly nice person. Yeah, she's in Colorado and Montana, which is pretty cool. Never been there to Montana. But as you go, as that starts to amplify, then people start to do that work and promotion for you. This is Pickle Jar Communications, cool name. They do marketing in higher ed in the UK. Again, never met them, but they found another post that they thought was pretty interesting. So they're doing that work for me. I just kind of used my experience and knowledge to put it out there. Other people are talking to them. So there's just one example of how we're taking that foundation, just building a bunch of stuff on top of it. Part two is to use the media. And that can be a scary word. But there are a lot of resources that you can use out there and get mentions in to kind of, again, help your personal brand. I do a lot of interviews and stories about my work here at Carroll. So they always mention John Carroll, which is great, but also me. So it's kind of a win-win for both of us. So this one is a...
And where did those stories appear when John Carroll's mentioned?
The one on the left there is the EDUCAUSE Review. It's a scholarly journal that comes out two or three times a year. One is a story that the Christian Science Monitor did. Again, that hotbed of publishing, University Business Magazine. I've been in there a ton. And this one here came from the Chronicle of Higher Ed, which is a daily, weekly newspaper and website for higher ed things. So this is about alumni offices and other groups that can use the new Apple iPad tools to make ebooks of their alumni magazines and things like that. And I was called and quoted in that story. So it's great exposure for me as someone who knows and has expertise in that area, but also secondarily, here's my quote, said me, Director of Marketing at John Carroll. So it's kind of a win-win for both of us. And all these things now, because Google never forgets, gets archived. And after a while, and it gets gets back to where I lost the plot on long tail. You have that initial spike of popularity, and then you go way down. And but there's still value in that long end of things. And this is, a couple of years ago, May of 2014, I posted that story about WordPress, and it still gets traffic. If you search for higher ed WordPress, it comes up, 4th or 5th in the listing of stuff. You have a question?
Two questions actually. Yeah. First of all, when someone looks at that and sees argued mic highlighted, which basically you check on it, click on it, and it goes to yours. I presume originally that had to be kind of worked into the text to be able to do that. But at this point, can Google, when you're going through there and you, let's say, stop and look at that, is Google able to identify that and then basically move you to that? Or can it connect you to, for example, if I looked at argued mic or my pointer was there for, let's say, 5 seconds, is that telling Google, hey, send Bob over to Mike's webpage?
No, the person who wrote that would have to make that connection.
Okay.
So the reporter at the Chronicle that made this story about alumni ebooks, got the quote from me, formatted it, linked people back to my site or to John Carroll or to an ebook example. So that's kind of, I think, am I answering that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the second question I have there is, when I'm on LinkedIn and someone puts an article in, and then the blog comes up and people make their comments on that. In general, is it better for the writer or is it productive for the writer to make comments about those blogs afterwards, or is it just as well just let it fly and let it flow?
For the most part, I tend to find myself letting it go. Especially on the places where you do get the most traffic. And again, every site is different. My site tends to get more traffic from Twitter than Facebook, which makes sense. I'm very kind of work-oriented, nerdy stuff. Makes more sense on Twitter. And what you can do is, if you use something like Google Analytics to monitor your web traffic, it'll tell you got so many visits from LinkedIn, so many visits from Facebook, so many visits from Twitter, so many from this network, from Instagram, whatever, that you can use that to, help inform yourself, well, where should I put my energy? Like, I'm getting a ton of traffic from LinkedIn. I should maybe pay more attention to that because discussions are going on. Even if I'm not initiating them, people are coming to my website from LinkedIn. I should see what's going on there and maybe take an active role. So for me, Facebook's not a huge traffic driver, but Twitter is. So maybe I want to pay more attention to Twitter as an avenue for me to help promote my stories myself out there than some other mediums. And so, the tracking tools are there to be able to track all of that stuff. But I can show you an example. I have to get really specific with that. But Mike, you say, I don't know any reporters. How am I going to reach out to people? And I say, lovely keynote does gifts. Reporters need content. They just don't, they are given assignments and story ideas, and they're always out there looking for sources for stories. So this is a website. You can sign up for a free account. It's called Help a Reporter Out. It's helpareporter.com. And twice a day, in the morning and the afternoon, it's full of pitches and story ideas from real reporters that need sources. They need help. They need you. They need your expertise. So it might be a little tough to see there, but in the email, you get just a listing of different sections. So this is the business and finance page section saying, seeking expert, how will Facebook's steep advertising increase impact small businesses? That might be one. I buy ads on Facebook for Carroll sometimes. I might be able to answer that. This reporter at a national publication is looking for new or current college students who are currently paying off student loans. Again, I have expertise on that. Financial advisor with expertise on financial decisions faced by college students and young adults. I mean, this is just the one afternoon, one morning of typical pitches that you can scan in the morning, scan in the afternoon. If nothing really jumps out, delete, no big deal. And then if you do click on one of those links, you can see a little bit more in depth about that story to see if it might fit for you to reach out to this reporter. So this is one for prevention.com, where her deadline is, and she's looking for a food-and-wine expert who can weigh in on the benefits of certain foods that get better with age, like cheese. That's cool. Probably not the right fit for me. My cheese expertise, like, I learned from Heinen's, and that's about it. Great cheese section over here in Cleveland.
Mike?
Yeah.
I read an article last night, Americans acting responsibly with a question mark. Paying down mortgages and saving more may be harming the economy. I don't buy into that. You know, they're saying, you know, we're doing the wrong thing. We should be buying homes, we should be buying cars, we should be buying to stimulate this economy. It's our responsibility. We shouldn't be putting money into, you know, retirement. We shouldn't be, you know, paying down our mortgages. Can I use a comment, or how will it be viewed if I post something on my blog saying, I have a counter view of this? Is that healthy? Is it?
Yes.
Does it create adversarial
No.
conversation?
I think if done civilly and respectfully, yeah. And I did that a couple of years ago. One of the other kind of big higher ed bloggers did a thing where, you know, the top 5 or 6 reasons higher ed is the worst place to work. Okay, I disagree with that. I think higher ed is a great place to work. And wrote a post on my site that was not refuting that, but okay, you know, those things have merit. I understand what he's saying about his frustrations of working in higher ed. I love working in higher ed. Here's 7 reasons why I love it. I get to work with students. I get to work and have time to come up with creative ideas to solutions. You know, I get to work with technology and represent the university on social media. I love working in higher ed. And, you know, that was a case where I took existing content, added my spin on it, and again, put it back out there for people then to share and comment on. I didn't just come out and say, man, that Dave Olson's a jerk. He's an idiot. He has no idea what he's talking about. Like, I didn't come at it that way. Came at it civilly and respectfully, and it worked out great. You know, and it was not, I disrespect him. I don't, you know, I like him. He's a good guy. We disagreed on this point. I brought something new to the table, and that's what, you know, yeah, that's what I would recommend doing. And that's a better outlet to do that than comment section on a website where you can get spam marked, you get approved, you know, and that's just a place for kind of flame wars anyway. So picking it out and taking it on your own site makes a lot of sense. That's what I would do. Because this is where the fun is. People here use Twitter, hands. All right, great. I looked it up yesterday. I joined Twitter just about this time in 2007. It seems like forever ago. Again, I use it differently. I use it to help and inform and educate people and share my expertise. I try and keep the kind of non-relevant-y stuff to a minimum, but everybody's different. There's no magic formula. Say I'm a Twitter user, I'm looking to get into it. There's no magic formula. People always ask, how many times a day should I be posting? Whatever feels right for you. I would shy away. You may watch a webinar or read an article that says, oh, you should be posting on Twitter 8 to 10 times a day. No, don't do that. People will ignore you very quickly. You know, you have to do what feels right to you. 2 or 3 is right for you, cool. I divided the number of days I joined Twitter ago, since the number of messages I posted, I'm at about half a message a day. So that's the right thing for me. Again, it's scary. I joined Facebook in December of 2005, when it was just for college students, and you had to have a college EDU address to join it, and you couldn't see really beyond your network. And I was at a different college, so I could see that network, and the network I graduated from, that was it. So now we have a publicly traded company in Facebook who wants money from advertisers and your data and all that kind of stuff. So it's really changed quite a bit. What we have now are these brand pages. We have the John Carroll page. If you don't follow John Carroll on Facebook, you certainly should. Lots of good stuff. 100 days until reunion, which is pretty awesome. So we didn't have these tools, but you can use Facebook as your kind of brand page. Now, it makes you think about what kind of content you post there. I'll talk about that in a second, but you can. Again, I think I asked LinkedIn, everybody here kind of uses LinkedIn. For me, I tend to just save the work updates for LinkedIn. Maybe the occasional blog post that I think is relevant, but I try to not put, here's a picture of my lunch on LinkedIn, not the right spot for that. And again, LinkedIn is trying to grow that by offering brand and school pages, and I think they've fumbled that rollout a little bit because there's a John Carroll group page, there's a John Carroll University page we control, they've not managed it well yet.
Something maybe just to go back, take a 3 steps back and big picture view of Twitter in particular.
Yeah.
So there's folks in the room tonight who maybe aren't on Twitter, don't have a handle or account, may not even access stuff like that on a smartphone. Can you make the case for personal branding side for folks on here to look into joining Twitter, if not to follow certain entities, news outlets? I mean, what are the merits?
Good question. It's a place to connect in near real time that other avenues don't give you the ability to do. To share experiences and information quickly and easily, and then to get news and updates from people you subscribe to. So it's not, sometimes Google and web pages can feel like the fire hose of just so much information coming at you on any given day. And Twitter's nice because it allows you to trim that down a little bit and follow the people that you want to follow that are relevant to you, whether it's colleagues, friends, family, brands. You can selectively choose what you want to see and follow. Now, it's not vouching for the quality of those posts, but it is a great tool, and it's changed as it's gotten bigger. A lot of people join Twitter just to follow the brands they like, and they don't actually contribute or participate in it. It's really very one way, which is fine if you don't want to share and be part of it. But that's part of the beauty of it, is you get to interact and see someone's information, reply back to it. Hey, I had a thought about that. That's a little bit different, or great post. This is super. And so you can use it to your benefit as well. I'm going to jump ahead one second because I've got a slide that talks about this. Hope nobody peeked at that. Okay, so I found a video of this guy who works at the University of Portland. His name is Joe Kuffner. Did an awesome video. He works in marketing there about students who are juniors thanking their parents. It's like a tradition there for the work that they do to help them attend this university. So great video. And I said, hey Joe, love this video by Joe in Portland. It's a really great job. And he said, thanks, appreciate that. And now he follows me. We follow each other. So I really liked his work, looked up who did it, said great job, and now we can connect that way and communicate once in a while. If I never talk to Joe again, that's cool, but I can kind of follow what he's up to and the stuff that he's doing because I'm interested in it. Now that I found him, hit follow on my app or on my desktop version, and now I can see Joe all the time, which is pretty cool. Let me jump back a second. So there are other outlets than these three, but these are the three primary ones. I could make the case maybe for Instagram being another one, but that's photos only. That's a little bit tougher to do some branding stuff there. People that do it, you can do it well, you can do it obnoxiously, and I don't think there's the happy medium there yet. But, so let's just go from the assumption these are our three things. And where do we put them? We have our work, our kind of professional bucket, and we have our personal bucket. For me, I tend to put the LinkedIn stuff in the work bucket, and really personal stuff in the Facebook bucket, locked down pretty heavily. So if you don't know me, you're not going to see pictures of my kids, or what movie I'm watching, or, wow, this is an interesting story, check this out. Stuff that's more personal to me. And then you've got kind of this weird area in the middle of people determining, okay, well, what's the right Twitter fit for me? Is it just work stuff? Is it just personal stuff? What's right for me? So, and that's kind of, you have to find that happy medium for yourself and what you're comfortable with. But I tend to, where does my brand live? I kind of stay in these areas here. LinkedIn for work, Facebook for home, and Twitter kind of floats in the intersections of there. Post a lot of work stuff on Twitter. I don't put pictures of my kids on Twitter. That's for Facebook. But if I liked a story or thought, or saw the movie Interstellar, really liked it, kind of was awesome, share it on Twitter, also on Facebook. So those are the kind of, those intersecting areas is where I see kind of my usage of these tools. I try not to post work stuff on Facebook unless it's come to the session, because I see none of my family here, so it didn't work out very well. And don't do the real personal stuff on LinkedIn. It's not the right medium for it. So it's finding kind of the right balance for you to reach out there and find that mix. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, trying to do this just on Facebook, just on Twitter is really, really hard. And here's why. There's so much noise and static out there. It's darn near impossible to cut through it. Unless you build up personal relationships and networks. There's billions of Twitter messages a day, billions of Facebook posts a day. And there's just so much noise. So starting here from scratch to build your brand is not the right place to do it. Because you're competing with so much attention in people's messages out there. I scrubbed my own feed in the last 2 days to see what are people talking about. What beer are they drinking? My app posted automatically. What TV show watching, what music watching, how many steps they walk today. Like, this is the kind of noise you have to compete with. I love my mother, but she shares the stupidest photos on Facebook. I do. She's great. Share if you like this. Pretty cat needs 10,000 likes. Stop it. You're encouraging these people. You're retweeting celebrity nonsense. I thought it was going to explode when the kid from One Direction said he's quitting. Twitter exploded today. I didn't know what to do. I just kind of cried for a little bit. They're retweeting contest entries. There's clickbait. There's so many people that, wow, the Browns are bad. And it's not just on Sundays. I'm finding in living here 5 years, it's all the time. They're always talking about it. It's just bad. So this is the kind of things that you're competing against. All this noise and cutting through that can be really difficult to do. And the trick is to be targeted. I jumped ahead to show you an example of this guy in Portland, but I made a targeted kind of reach out. I really liked his work, so that was a great job. We connected. Great, now he'll see what I'm doing, I'll see what he's doing. Easy. Cut through the static. I directly mentioned him. He shows it, he gets an alert, hey, this guy just mentioned you. Okay, cool, let me check it out. So that was good. Be targeted. And don't try to be everything to everyone. Then, at the end of the day, you measure it. You say, just like you would with your work brand, you measure your personal brand. Is it working? Is the work I'm putting into this doing anything? And there's hard data and soft data. There's the hard data of, have the number of Twitter followers I have gone up. I've been trying to blog a lot more lately. How many people have joined my mailing list? Been trying to blog a lot lately. I have 20 new followers this month. Cool. Like stuff you can measure. But then there's the soft stuff that's harder to measure. And my reputation increased. What are people thinking better of me? Maybe. That's a little bit harder to measure. Am I getting more conference inquiries? People thinking about me when they're trying to schedule a conference and, hey, we should invite, that guy talked last year, did a great job, we should come back. And you've never partied at a conference until you've been to a university business conference. That's a wild time. In bed by 8. But then if you are measuring that for things like, I want to do some personal networking and branding because I'm looking to grow my career. Well, I put myself out there, especially locally, regionally, get some headhunter calls. That's kind of interesting in emails. So you know, those are kind of other ways to measure the success of that, to see what's working, evaluate what's working, and go in a different direction. You know, we mentioned earlier, LinkedIn might be the right place for that. You've learned and growing from it works out really well. And then just keep a record of it. So on my aforementioned super exciting web blog of higher ed, I have a section about here's all the publications I've done that I've written, here's the times I've been interviewed. Just have a record of it. Same with conferences and presentations. Just again, if someone stumbles on the website, they heard my name, they go to here, they search for me, they can come here and see all the stuff that I've done. And look at that and say, wow, that guy's done a lot of stuff, that's pretty cool. And then you can say, you know, then you get excited about stuff like this. So this is a guy probably no one's ever heard of in here. He's a huge higher ed kind of consultant, has his own company, they work in higher ed and marketing. I've seen him speak a couple times, it's totally like next level, awesome. And he looked at me on LinkedIn. I was like, that's cool. Like I nerded out and took a screenshot because that was pretty cool because that was my increase in reaching out there, is starting to reach those higher levels. And he's kind of near the top of higher ed marketing and stuff. So to see him come and find me on LinkedIn is pretty cool. It's pretty excited about that.
Mike?
Yeah.
Different levels of LinkedIn, you know, the free version, the premium version, you know, and you know, the free version, if you look at someone, they can kind of know that you're looking at them. Any thoughts, is it worth paying more for that privacy so you can actually go out and stalk, as my kids would tell me?
You can be anonymous without paying.
Yeah.
Just go to your privacy settings, and there's a how do you want to be seen, and there's 3 different options. Then the top one is, you know, the full-blown, you know, but the bottom one is completely anonymous.
And it's not that I don't want to be seen. I guess maybe the question is it worth premium? What other benefits do you have on LinkedIn?
It really kind of depends, I think, on how you're using it. If you're maybe that you are actively looking for a job, you know, you get some additional job searching tools and search criteria that you don't get in the normal way. If you're trying to really build a network out for yourself, the premium level gives you the ability to get in touch with people without being directly connected to them in some way, either from various levels of communication. And then there's some benefits if you're hiring people, you get some additional benefits there as well. But I think for most people, the free level is fine. You do what you want to do. And get the information out of it that you need to get out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's me in a nutshell. That's my personal brand. It's not the easiest amount of work, but I think it's well been worth it from the things I've been able to learn and experience and connect with people and build relationships and friendships and do interesting and fun things and share my expertise because people shared with me and continue to do because every day I search for something on the web, whether it's a WordPress question or a programming question or how much should I be paying for display advertising on billboards? I don't know. I never bought billboards until I got this job. But now I know because someone else shared their expertise. And so, you know, in addition, I can share my expertise and I can kind of share it forward as well. And so it's proven to me to be an amazing experience to share and to connect and to grow. And it's ever evolving. The work on things I'm talking about now are very different than when I started my blog in 2008. I have a different job. I work at a different college. I live in a different city. So it's continually growth. It's not the same. And that's fun, that evolution and sitting back and trying to do the Jesuit things of reflecting and discernment and taking action. I try and live that, you know, as much as I can. So if you have questions after, I mean, Dave's going to circulate the slides, I think, after. But if you have any questions, you can email, you can Twitter, fill out the form on the blog. Happy to answer anything. I mean, obviously, we have time now for questions, but think of anything after, please let me know. I'm happy to help and help share. So.